Alright. Okay, I just want to talk about this game. These kind of games make me sad because there's always, I think, a lot of potential for anime, like, games, right? Just anime games in general. Like seeing a game where you can have a bunch of anime featured in one game, that many IPs is unheard of. You want to know why? Because getting the money to do that would be really expensive, right? Which is why we have stuff like Jump Force, which is just all like Shonen Jump characters, right? Otherwise, it's completely unheard of. So a lot of these Roblox games they'll just resort to copyright infringement, which, I mean, I don't really care about. It's like really not that big of a deal in the context of like Roblox games taking from like these very huge anime IPs. I feel like it's not that big of a deal, but obviously it's like illegal. But because of that potential, right? I always feel like it's very disappointing when these games just end up kind of sucking. Now, if it wasn't kind of apparent, I've played this game already a bit, and I actually, when I first started playing, I actually didn't think it was too bad. I really enjoyed the combat. Like, the rare characters didn't feel too bad. Every character has 3 moves, like, they're very simplistic. But my thought process was, if the higher rarity characters introduce more complexity, then I would be really excited to play this game. I don't know if you've noticed, but this is a legendary character, and he's really fucking boring. Alright, I'm gonna show you what all the skills do. So we have this move, right? It uses up I think like 70 SP, like 50 to 60, and then shoots a projectile. Whatever. Right? Here's Dragon Twister. You have to hold this down, but they don't tell you that. And if you don't hold it down, literally nothing will happen. So, like on Itadori, I think, there's a move that does that, and I just thought he would just stand there and do a pose, and that was the entire move. But that move, you spin, and it does damage, and it's very simple. And I think that's kind of the problem, which is that it's very boring. If you guys have ever played like Genshin Impact or Honkai, or not Honkai Star Rail, Honkai Impact 3rd, Wuthering Waves, like I'm naming like tag teaming like games right now, but there's definitely others outside of like that sort of like anime-esque, like, I mean, let's be real, right? Wuthering Waves and yeah, I guess just Wuthering Waves, right? Took the Genshin like formula, or even like Zenless Zone Zero. Obviously Honkai Impact 3rd came up before Genshin, right? But they're all very similar in terms of like, you get 3 characters. I only have 2 because I'm broke. You get 3 characters, you like swap between them, right? So I do this, and I can swap, and then that's cool because like inherently it's not really that interesting. What makes it interesting in Genshin is, see, I pressed it and then I forgot to hold it, so, and I pressed it again, but it didn't count that time. At that point it was already over. But god, what was I saying? I was busy being pissed at this game's like held inputs. Okay, yeah, I remember what I was saying now. The thing about Genshin and other games like it that basically do a very similar thing is that they have a lot of complexity. Now, does Roblox need that complexity? Not necessarily, but you need something to replace it. And this game has nothing to replace it. It is less grindy than Genshin, right? So it has even less retention. Daily quests can be replaced with just like grinding. Like if you want to just grind something out forever, and like you could do that, which is the sort of like Roblox culture. But Genshin doesn't do that. They don't want you to burn out, right? They want you to do dailies for the rest of your fucking life. And I'm not saying that's good. Like, that's not good game design. I'm not, like, it's designed to not keep players having fun, but more so just to keep them there. But this game doesn't do that. This game tells you to grind, for forever until you get all the characters, until you get all the levels and all the shit like that, right? The problem, of course, is that this game is not very in-depth, like, at all. It is so boring. Oh my god, wait, this is the first time I played this level. This is actually kind of cool. I can appreciate that. Like, they have 2 bosses. That's actually a really cool mechanic. I've noticed that some of the bosses are kind of, I don't know, I want to say this is the most interesting boss I've seen so far. So, hey, I mean, plus points for that. But characters in this game have little to no complexity. It is so sad. There's no passives, there's no ultimates. It kind of seemed like they wanted to add ultimates, because like I have Okurun, I just don't have him at a good level, but I have Okurun, and he has like a cutscene move, so like, I'm assuming that's what that was supposed to be like an ultimate or something, or maybe it's not, but like it kind of feels like they wanted it to be for at least a little bit, and they kind of just scrapped it, I guess. I'm sure there's a real answer out there that I just don't know, right? But my point is that I'm just pressing buttons, man. This isn't... It's only fun when there's like a novelty attached to it, right? Like I'm playing as like these characters, and it doesn't look like Anime Switch. Like granted, it does look better than in like that game from like a year ago, right? Which I guess is like, I don't know. That's the kind of thing we really should take for granted at this point, because, well, I don't know, not necessarily, because that's what a lot of people care about, but it's not like it's something you get easily. It's very difficult. It costs a lot of budget, I presume. Okay, I need to swap to my other character. I just want to say, by the way, this is the dumbest mechanic I've ever seen in my entire life, right? They made a trait that I have on my Zoro that makes it so that every single time you get a kill, you get plus damage. Why would you want that? Like, not as in like in balance perspective. Like obviously it's working pretty well for me, but why would that's not fun. How the fuck is that fun? Like, why would you want your players to just stick on one character, you know? And the thing is that every character is designed to do damage as well. I think if every character had like one skill, unironically, I think the game might have a bit more depth attached to it than it does now. Right, I'm just gonna reset here. It's not fucking... I'm just gonna... yeah. I'm not doing this. I do no damage on this character. This guy sucks. Also, don't forget the fact that he's like 21 levels lower. It's okay, I'm on easy mode. Oh, that pushes you? I just realized that. Okay. But anyway. If you look at like Genshin, or Wuwa, that's what we call that apparently. If you look at Wuwa, if you look at, fuck, what are the other ones? Zenless Zone Zero, right? You'll notice that a lot of these games, or actually, sorry, all of these games have a very large amount of complexity. Not necessarily depth, not always. I think that's something that we take for granted as well, because it's not very easy to have a in-depth like combat system where you have to, where like there isn't like some sort of hard meta. Balance is hard, guys. But there is a lot of complexity, right? Like you have those like ascendants, like constellations, right? Like you have to get dupes of characters to get passives on them. Like imagine if I pulled another Zoro and that would give me a passive on him, and you could get up to 9 passives. Like, is that not fucking crazy? That is unheard of in like games like these, right? Like we usually just get like 1 or 2, you know, and then like that's it. And I think luckily there's games like Anime Vanguards that I don't really love all too much, because their practices are still a little weird to me. You know, at the end of the day, it's a tower defense game with like terrible pricing on their like rerolls and shit. But like, I don't know, it's not as bad. It's not as bad as like other games. Anyway, at least there are games like that are trying to expand on like the complexity of these characters, right? And I just think that this game doesn't do that, right? And it's not fun. That's what I'm trying to say. This isn't enjoyable for me. I retried the level on accident. I think this game needs a lot of stuff that, let's be real, it's not going to get, okay? In the same way that Anime Rangers is not going to get good, Anime Saga is not going to get good either. And the reason for that is because not only are the devs not interested in that, I think ultimately the devs are interested in keeping players satisfied, right? And I am very much in the minority. Okay, let's just be real for a second, okay? players more often than not do not know what they want. Okay? And okay, so what do I mean by that? This is a pretty like I don't want to say common, but if you just think about it for a little bit, hopefully you're able to understand what I'm getting at here, right? So let's say, for example, people are saying, oh, I'm struggling with like level stuff. I don't know, I heard in a video that they buffed XP recently, which makes sense. But what people were really complaining about is the fact that they weren't really able to play new content often, right? Because you level gated like story modes and stuff, or like infinite or like raids. As soon as they complete the story, they should have something else to do next. And I think people are complaining about the levels because you level gated that shit. Why would you do that? You level gated mythics, you level gated like infinite, right? Raids. Why would you do that? Level gated stories. Who level gates stories? That's not a thing that people do. What the fuck is wrong with you? Right? But like I just don't know, man. I don't understand. I really don't. See? Now that's synergy. I press a button and then I spam M1. Oh my lord. We got a venti ult for one skill, every deadass. But what ends up happening a lot of the times when people ask for stuff, what the hell? Mana potion. Oh, that's new. When people ask for stuff and then you just give it to them directly without figuring out what the core issue is, you create inflation, right? And I think in this case of like, just like making it easier to get levels, like sure, but did you make it easy enough to where like if I clear an entire story, I get to level 15? Or sorry, if I clear 2 stories, then I get to level 15? Because I probably didn't. And like if they did, that's great. But the fact that I even have to question it kind of, I don't know, I feel like that says something. But if they didn't, then that's even worse, right? Because that kind of proves my point that these games really aren't able to address the audience's core issues. They just kind of put a band-aid on it. And I'm not saying that they're being malicious about it. They're just doing what their player base told them to do. But like, your player base is stupid. You have to understand that they're not developers. So you have to be the developers. I'm talking to the developers that aren't watching this video, obviously. But the developers have to be able to decide for themselves what the game should have, right? And they need to be smart about it. So there are situations where that core issue still isn't being addressed, even if you do what they want. And then it kind of creates this thing where like, I'm gonna be real, okay? I don't like it when, it's not like I don't understand when developers complain about like their audience. Or like, you kind of chose this, right? You made a game that was catered towards children, and then you're surprised when the children are children. What do you want from me, huh? Okay, this is lazy. What the fuck are we doing? I mean, you could have just not added something, or add like, you just reskin it to be his dad or something. Wait, is that his dad? Oh, you know what? I think that is. You know what, man? I don't got nothing to say anymore. I respect the hustle. I guess I never gave him a name, huh? Now that I think about it. That is kind of cool, actually, that they did that. And I kind of feel bad for not realizing that that's his dad, but then again, nobody fucking cares about this character. And I hate Demon Slayer, so yeah. But I think every anime Roblox game ultimately has like a lot of lessons that we can learn from, or like that developers can learn from. I really didn't need to do that. I should just keep going because this is easy mode and I can die as much as I want. Does this do damage? How much is that? 600? That's not bad. I don't know, I heard that Zora does the most damage. But the thing is, like, look, this is coming from somebody who used to spend a lot of their time, like, in early teens, trying to figure out the coolest way to implement a character into, like, some sort of fighting game, like the way that we do now, right? Back when, like, JoJo games were really popular, with, like, YBA, ABD, AUT, stuff like that, right? If no one's ever heard of these games, you're just hearing me say letters. I promise you those games were popular back then. And they didn't have the player counts that, like, a lot of these anime games do now, but back then there just weren't that many people on Roblox. Not as much as now, for sure. But those games were all, like, fighting games, right? And a lot of them, you would just run around and fight people. It really, like, the gameplay loop was not that crazy. So because of that, I spent a lot of my time just making movesets for, like, random, like, JoJo characters. Did I say that? They were all JoJo games? They're all JoJo games. Except for, like, AUT, I guess. They're not really doing JoJo anymore, but that's fine. I don't know. The time for JoJo games is already over, man. It's okay. You can move on. But I used to make, like, a lot of movesets and stuff, and I always struggled to come up with something, like, unique for that character, but I always tried to, because I think that's my favorite part about any moveset, which is just like, okay, what makes them unique, right? In this game, what makes a character unique is what they look like, their visuals, right? Like this, and then like how much damage they do, right? There's very little variance and uniqueness in each of these characters. There really isn't much at all. Like, I'm sure people like will look at, like, I don't know, like Sid. I don't know if they accounted for the fact that he has a healing skill and then put like a bunch of damage into his other skills. But if not, people are just gonna think that he's ass, because why the fuck would you want healing? Just deal damage, dude. Like, maybe I sound like I'm joking, but I'm really not. If you just do enough damage, things die. You don't need to heal. So I can guarantee you that either Sid does a shit ton of damage on like one of his like nuke skills or whatever the fuck, and that's why he's meta, or he's just not meta and he's just dog shit, right? And that's like kind of sad, because I just want more out of the meta, man, or sorry, more out of the characters, and I want the meta to be more diverse, but we're never gonna get that, and I think that's the sad part. So yeah, I don't know. That sucks, dude. Honestly, it's like just hearing me say that, it makes me a little disappointed. But I don't know. Like, okay, let me start talking about like actual concerns with this game specifically, because I've talked about a few, but not all of them that I want to cover. Because I don't know if you noticed, but that boss fight was like 5 minutes long. That should not take 5 minutes. And I'm not saying that it's like I'm not saying like the boss fights. Okay, how do I say this? A lot of the boss fights in this game, at least the early ones, obviously I'm in the Demon Slayer level, so I don't know about the later ones. They're all very monotonous and they're very easy to exploit. I just got hit by that. That's crazy. And also on that note, this game's like difficulty is super fucking weird. Like, look, I get that like traits aren't really accounted for in balance, but let me just stand still and I'll kill all these guys, because every single time I kill someone, I heal like 20% of my HP. Is that, like, that's crazy. I mean, I guess I could always just use those like potions that are lying around the map too, right? But this game has no sense of balance, and it has no sense of what makes a game fun. Like, this game just looks nice, and the game doesn't feel like shit, you know? Like, I do this, and then, like, it looks cool. I'm not gonna deny that. But what I am gonna say is that, why do the enemies attack like this? Like, they create little AoE circles. Like, what am I supposed to do about that other than just dodge, right? So, okay, I feel like I should expand on that a bit more, because I'm not saying that the game's, like, too difficult, like, oh, I can't dodge this attack. I'm saying that if I dodge the attack, right, like, let's say I do this, my goal is to just not get hit, right? So I'm gonna wait, and then I'm gonna, like, dash in and out. But I really don't need to do this. I can just spam click, and then they die. And what am I gonna do if the enemies, like, two-tap me? I have no blocking, I can't, like, parry it. There's no skill involved, whether the game is too difficult or too easy, right? And I think, like, this is going back to what I said before about the community oftentimes, like, they understand that there are core issues existing, but they don't know how to address them. Like, they say, like, oh, the game's too easy, or oh, the game's too difficult. A lot of the times it's because the game isn't really, like... Okay, you know what? I feel like maybe I said that wrong. But a lot of the times, like, for example, this one, where the game is, like, either too easy, because, like, you can just dodge the enemy's attacks pretty easily, right? Or they're considered too difficult, because you get, like, two-tapped, and that's just, like, stat scaling, right? And I mean, this game already has terrible stat scaling. Look at that boss that took me like 5 minutes to kill. That's not normal, right? And the boss patterns there were so monotonous that I kind of just ran around and I did stuff, you know? And then eventually he died, and I'm like, oh my god, he died. And let's not even talk about the fact that, like, you can just die over and over again, right? Like, I don't know, is that bad? I don't know, dude. But all this is to say that this game isn't really as engaging as I want it to be. What the fuck is going on? I forget his name, but I don't think he ever did that move. They're just using the same, like, tentacle model or whatever the fuck. Oh, I can hit this. Honestly, I'm kind of just running out of stuff to say about this game. It's just a little sad because I wish that the game could be better, but I know that it'll never will be because I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. I think I know I'm going on a lot of tangents. The one thing that makes me a little bit upset about the Roblox anime community is that everyone is very young and nobody's really all too experienced. So what ends up happening a lot of the times is that good games are not created. And I don't know, maybe that sounds kind of obvious, but I want the Roblox platform to host like good games, you know? And the reason it's kind of upsetting is because we'll see a lot of people talking like, oh my god, this game's so underrated and it has like 200 players, and it's just like an absolute shit show. But like it looks cool, you know, and it has a unique world, so people just automatically call that good, even though it's not. It's just unique, and we're so used to not seeing unique things that we I don't know, we do the opposite of taking things for granted. We're like shocked when like a game doesn't look like every other game because they're all taking anime IPs. And I think like it would genuinely work. We don't really need the anime IPs. Maybe it tampers with player count like a little bit. Like think of like Days of Creation. That game sucked, right? But it sucked on its own merit. So it wasn't just because like it had no like animes in it, you know? And like with all the like copyright stuff going on recently, it's definitely, I'm kind of starting to wonder whether people are going to keep, oh, press the wrong button. I'm starting to wonder whether people are going to keep making anime games, or if we're going to start making stuff that's a bit more, or like just make stuff that isn't based off of a specific game, right? Not to say that it's good or bad, but to say that it doesn't really contribute to anything. At least not to me. Well, I don't want to say it's, okay, I'll put it this way. I think a lot of the times anime games are very derivative, and if we start to move away from that, I think that might be for the best. So I guess I am saying that it is bad, right, that they exist, but I don't know, it's not the end of the world. I feel like people complain about it too much or not enough or whatever. Actually, now I think about it, I don't see anyone complaining about it. I think everyone just wants to see it. I'm just talking out of my ass. But anyway, conclusions, right? Game makes me sad. Not really, but I wish it had more depth because I really like games like this. There needed to be more reasons to swap characters because I got a trait that actively doesn't want me to swap characters unless I die like that. Then yeah, I guess the game is incentivizing me to swap characters. Sure. Right? Like, it's not like each character has the mana system, right? Like, if I spam characters on one, or spam moves on one character, like, I'm gonna run out of mana anyway. But sometimes you can, like, just cycle the good moves only. I've done that before, right? I'm just gonna try to kill him, man. This is taking too long. Yeah, that hit does a lot of damage, bro. I don't know, I'm not really sure what I want to do with this video. Like, is it going to be like a review thing or just like talking about it? Part of me kind of wants to just talk about it because I think inherently speaking, you shouldn't be playing any of these games anyway. I don't know, is that weird to say? Because I play a lot of these games. Like, I at least try them. So, yeah, I mean, in conclusion, don't play it. You can admire the visuals from a safe distance, right? Obviously don't spend money on this. It's a terrible game, like, to spend money on anyway. Fucking buy, like, Expedition 33 or something. I don't know, dude. Oh yeah, also something I hate about this game. Why does it not tell me which, rewards I already claimed? Doesn't tell you, like, ever. It is stupid, and it makes me upset. Okay.